From LPI Studios in Memphis, Tennessee, it's R&R on Sports with Uncle Howard Robertson.
Everybody that is in a leadership position is not necessarily a leader.
Jenny on the block, Jennifer Conroy.
It's a standoff now between Phil Jackson and Carmelo Anthony, and so I think they've put out there that he's being shopped.
And the magnificent, tremendous, undeniable, undisputed, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Larry Robinson.
Nerlens Noel going to Dallas from the 76ers. He was asking to get out of there. They really got a log jam in the front court.
It's R&R on Sports.
Hello and welcome to R&R on Sports. I'm Howard Robertson.
And I am Jennifer Conroy.
And I am just Kaepernicking. This is Larry Robinson. What's up, America? How y'all doing today?
What do
that
you mean?
Nobody
Wants you?
I wouldn't say that. What I'm saying is that I love what the young man is doing, and I know we're going to talk about it in another segment.
We are, so don't go there yet.
I will not go there, but I'm Kaepernicking today.
We're going to start out talking about March Madness. It is a great time. We are into, as you hear this, the Sweet 16 going into the Elite 8, coming out with the Final Four.
Now let me ask you, what's been your biggest surprise over the March Madness at this point?
There's not really been a good Cinderella story.
Well, yeah, Michigan is a great Cinderella story.
But Michigan is a powerhouse. It's not a Cinderella story if you've been there before.
They were not predicted to be where they are now.
That's true.
And still be in the hunt.
They have not been this good since the Fab Five.
Right.
So somebody should talk to them about timeouts.
Right. So what are you
Wait a minute,
at?
you can't say that. Michigan just was in the Final Four a couple years ago and lost to Louisville when the kid broke his leg. Yeah, Michigan's been there recently.
But that was another team.
But yeah, they were very good. They had 2 or 3 players to go to the league on that.
So what are you saying for a Final Four prediction?
I'm going to rock chalk Jayhawk.
Of course you are.
Of course I am. And go with some Kansas ball. I think UCLA will be in the final dance. I think Wisconsin will be there. And the last one I think is a little bit up for grabs. So I'm undecided.
What about you, Kaepernick?
First and foremost, I'm from Kentucky, so you know I got to go with the big blue.
You're from Louisville, though.
Yeah, well, that's in
Kentucky. Then you go with them?
Did you see? That's
what happened to them?
Education. Public school education.
He
you
don't know
see
his colors.
Geography. You don't know your geography at all. Louisville is in Kentucky.
I know this.
So Louisville number 1, Kentucky number 2. If Louisville's not present, Kentucky. Okay, so I got Kentucky as one of my Final Four.
One.
And then that's one blue. But then I got to go to the other blue, and that's Kansas. I really like Jayhawk, like Josh Jackson and Frank Mason Jr. Love them guys. And my man, though, in Wisconsin, and Nigel Hayes. I love me some Nigel Hayes.
Okay.
And then I think out there is Arizona. I think Arizona's going to come out of there. I think they're going to beat Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga is.
He's all about the
blues.
He's got blue. He's got all blue balls today.
That's right.
And see, Louisville didn't get blue balls until post pimping scandal.
Give her a mic and a hot mic and some time, and she'll always get there.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at Michigan, UCLA. I've always said Gonzaga is going to take it all, and Wisconsin.
Gonzaga's going to take it all?
Gonzaga.
That's what I'm saying, man.
That'd be sweet.
I'm saying.
Okay,
That's
Mark
what
Few.
I'm saying.
I like Mark Few, so go ahead.
So we're all over the place.
Yeah.
We're all over
so
the place.
We're going to be able to come back next week and talk a little smack to each other.
True that.
Always.
It's exciting. The games are really, really good. I watched a lot last week.
Memphis
last
is the epicenter of the basketball universe.
Calipari is coming back.
The South region from the FedEx Forum in Memphis, Tennessee, featuring
UCLA and UK.
UCLA, UK, and UNC and Butler.
Yeah, man.
Beautiful
that's
thing.
Now, neither one of you guys picked UNC. Why is that with all those McDonald All-Americans on that bench? You just don't have any faith in Roy Williams?
No, I have faith in Roy Williams, but, I mean, you know.
Because Pastner beat him, so, you know.
And we did a thing on their study habits, which I'm impressed with. I don't think they're smart enough. And with that, we are going to let you get your ha-ha on. On the other side of that, we got some more talk for you, so don't leave us. Stay right here. We'll be right back.
Welcome to another edition of Fly on the Wall. Recently, there was a meeting between Roger Goodell of the NFL and his public relations team about his future as commissioner of the National Football League. And now, listen in as you become a fly on the wall.
Hey guys, thanks for getting together on such short notice. Of course, you know the situation and...
Shut up, Pete. That's very rude. Let him finish.
Well, I'm just saying, things don't look so rosy.
You're right, and that's why you're here, because I need to know just how we need to spin this thing.
Come on, Raj. You're toast, man. So however we spin it, we've got to spin you out of there. Either you resign or get sacked.
But how do I keep my good name?
You're good. What?
Shut up, Pete. That's more rude than before. But I think I got something. You're going to resign because guess what? Huh? You're blind. You can't see. You didn't see anything. The video or anything else. So you're resigning from the NFL to be a blind singer. Why should Stevie Wonder and Jose Feliciano be the only ones? We can call you Roger Charles, Ray's distant white cousin.
What?
Come on, try this. I got a woman.
I got a
way across town. She's good to me. Now try this. Baby, good. What I say.
Baby, what I say.
Baby, what I say right now.
Baby, what I say.
We'll get it together. Right. We'll get it together. Look, Pete, you still got Jay-Z's number?
Yeah, I got it. Just talk to Jay.
Call him. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. Come on. I got a woman.
I got a woman.
Oh, Lord.
Hello?
Hey, Jay-Z. Listen, man, I'm calling with Roger Goodell, man. He's going to be the next great. Listen to this. I got a woman.
I got a woman.
Way across town. She's good to me. Baby, it's going to be dynamic, man. It's going to be fantastic, but we need you to produce it, man.
Hey, B, put Blue down. Come on over and listen to this. Hey.
I got a woman.
I got a woman.
Way across town.
Way over there.
We can get it together in the mix, man.
Well, I got a woman way over town that's good to me. Oh, yeah. Say, I got a woman way over town, good to me. Oh, yeah. She give me money.
You're listening to R&R on Sports. And don't forget to subscribe and rate our podcast. Go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any of your podcast providers.
Everything I would do, you were standing there by my side. And now you gonna be with me for the last ride.
And we are back. Hope you enjoyed that. So much to talk about. Let's begin with the reality of what is happening with Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
The NFL is blackballed Colin Kaepernick. That's really what's happening.
And they've involved the president.
And they've let this disrespectful. I don't even know the words to use. I am so disappointed in our country right now.
So for those of you who may have been on a trip to Mars, let us tell you that Colin Kaepernick is a free agent at this point, and you know of his past, you know of his performance, and as of right now, there are no teams actively pursuing him or seemingly interested in him. And let's not assume that everybody agrees as to why that is. So,
but you can talk the politics.
What do you guys say?
The politics of it, and that's definitely there. But of the free agents,
politics trumps performance.
Oh, that was nice. I don't think it should. And of the free agents available, like Tony Romo and Jay Cutler, I would personally, from a performance standpoint, pick Kaepernick because he's not been injured like the other two have, and he's
29 years old.
He's 29 years old. He can still throw the ball. I think that what is being done to him is a huge disservice. And when they go low, he's gone high with arranging for a plane with, I think it was like 16 tons of
talk
food
about
and
that.
water.
Tell people
60
about
tons.
that.
60
People don't
tons.
With
understand.
Turkish
Talk about
Airlines going to Somalia.
60
which is in a
60
severe
tons of
drought.
what?
Food and water.
Food and water.
To go to Somalia, which is in a severe drought and famine. People are dying.
Literally, he's saving lives. This young man is
He's saving a nation.
lives.
It's not just like one or two
Can you
people.
get that? Can you get that now for a second?
It's
Just
a
think about
nation.
this. This guy is empowered to help a country and save lives. This guy raised $2 million in a GoFundMe for the plight in Somalia.
And put in a million of his own money?
And I mean, Meals on Wheels, he's invested money into that. I mean, you talking
after Trump is talking about cutting Meals on Wheels out completely.
I mean, it's a travesty that we are even having this conversation.
And these are people that call themselves Christians and believe that Jesus fed people from 5 loaves of bread, and then they want to debate as to whether Meals on Wheels works. And you've got a guy coming around, a football player coming down the line and saving not just a country but his own.
So the motivation, do you think for the owners and NFL executives of other teams is that we're going to teach them a lesson for sitting down during the national
and they're going
anthem?
to teach everybody else a lesson too.
Well, I would say
we're going to make an example out of him.
We're going to make an example out of him, and it's really a travesty. It's a travesty that you don't honor somebody who is literally. I mean,
But if he
all
had,
the jerseys that was sold, he gave that money. Donated that money. Endorsement money he's donated. He's run an organization that has helped kids to understand their rights and really has taken that on the road.
But check this out.
I mean, he's an engaged citizen.
Would he be having the same problem if he had popped somebody in the head or raped somebody or done something else? You think he'd have the same kind of issues?
And you got this sorry league leader in Roger Goodell, commissioner, who has basically said that it's okay. He's fine with Donald Trump's comments regarding Colin Kaepernick.
Right.
What kind of leader is he?
Donald Trump is taking ownership of preventing a black man from having a job. A private citizen.
It's sad.
And that in the face of this ludicrous video regarding excessive celebration that's been produced.
That's like an instructional video. Yeah, I'm gonna teach y'all how to dance. Like an instructional video on whipping and nay-naying and doing the Cupid shuffle.
The white folks how to.
Although this is rather rhetorical from my perspective because I know your answer, but for America, tell us, do you think in any way, shape, or form any of these decisions have been racially motivated?
So with it being rhetorical, do we have to answer?
Yes, I want you to answer. It's rhetorical for me.
Well, I would think absolutely rhetorical. Who dances in the NFL? Who dances anywhere for that matter at any professional level?
Who dances at church?
I mean, when you think about it, when you think about what's happening in this country, this guy that we call the leader of the 45, he has actually he's actually put a fog over the whole United States and this whole supremacist stuff and really trying to control black people and people of color. And it's sad. It's really sad that today in 2017 we're not focused on enriching and loving the best of all of us. And it's really disappointing.
It's
scary. Very disappointing.
And here this guy Colin does the right thing.
Doing the right thing.
But positioned in the media. At every level. And that is not recognized.
If you can't protest by taking a knee,
quietly taking a knee, he wasn't making noise. He wasn't doing anything obscene.
And eloquently described and explained his position.
Why?
Eloquently.
And then was very, very straightforward in saying, hey, that's not an issue anymore. It served its purpose. I'm done.
I like how people feel like they can pick and choose this in the situation with Kaepernick, whether he's white or black, and saying, oh, well, he had white parents, and then when it's something that they don't like, it's, oh, well, he's black. So
the whole notion of black and white is really retarded.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
absolutely.
excuse me. I don't mean to use it.
Sometimes it's applicable.
I mean, it's just it's asinine. It's unthinkable that we are, as a country, are still so focused on all the different hues instead of looking at the truly cornucopia of beautiful colors that exist in this country. We're still trying to divide people and put them in boxes, and then discriminate against them because of the box that we decided to put them in.
Hate haunts.
Preach.
Hate haunts. Hate haunts us today. Hate is the gift that keeps on giving because it is literally passed down from one generation to the next, which is why we're still having, to your point, we're still having this conversation. And please, if you're a parent, please be very careful in terms of what you communicate and transfer to your children because it's holding us back.
It's holding us back. It's holding us back and keeping us divided.
Yep.
Truly, truly, truly. We, as always, have a fantastic ICONversation. You know what? I'm not going to even tell you who it is. It gives you motivation to stick around.
Stick around because it's one of our best throwback.
It is phenomenal, as we always have. And you're looking. You got.
She looking cute today.
She looking cute today.
You got a date after this?
I got a date watching some NCAA practices.
Okay.
I'm gonna go say hello to LeVar Ball. I think.
All right.
I have some questions.
That's something we could have talked about.
Go ahead, LeVar. Keep going, LeVar.
That's a lot.
Heck with what LeBron is talking about.
Really, I just want a big
LeVar.
baller T-shirt.
Can you get us luck with that?
Right?
Can you get us luck with that?
I think I'm pretty cute today.
Maybe you remind him of his wife. So hey, you might get one. But we're gonna be back. Stay with us. More R&R on Sports after this. Hello, I'm Howard Robertson.
J to the C.
And I am the magnificent, the amazing, the phenomenal Larry Robertson.
All right here on R&R on Sports, on the Sports Byline Network, every Saturday morning. This is the best way to start your weekend.
Catch us, receive us, pass us on to your friends.
Wasn't that cute? Wasn't that cute?
We also got some of the best interviews during our ICONversation segment.
Every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific.
R&R on Sports. Part of the Kazuki Network.
Yo, this your boy Chris Brown.
David West of the Golden State Warriors.
Hey, this is Dr. J.
This is Shaq Adocious.
Yo, what's up? This is Ice Cube.
This is Nicki Minaj.
And you're listening to a little R&R.
R&R on Sports.
This is Tommie Smith, and you're listening to R&R on Sports.
Say the blacker the better, the sweeter the juice. I say the darker the flesh, and the deeper the roots. I give a holler to my sisters on welfare. Tupac kids, if don't nobody else care.
And we're right back at you here at R&R on Sports. Now, our listeners know there's a reason we call this ICONversation. We've interviewed sports icons such as Jim Brown, Hank Aaron, Dr. J, Ken Griffey Jr., but today we have the pleasure of speaking to probably one of the most enduring, iconic images, a person focused in one of the most iconic images of the 20th century. 1968 gold medalist in the 200 meters, Dr. Tommie Smith. Tommie, welcome to R&R on Sports.
And it's a pleasure being with you people here today, Howard, Larry, and JC.
Thank you.
Amen. A lot of things to talk about.
Yes, sir.
I know the talk has been great on different topics on this fantastic R&R on Sports.
That's right. We got so much to talk about, so we're going to try to do it sequentially. We're gonna start kind of at the beginning. We're going to start at like San Jose State, and we know that you were born in Texas and moved to California as a child.
Yeah.
And was Mr. Everything in high school. And got a basketball scholarship to San Jose State?
Yeah, athletic scholarship. Of course, basketball is one of the first sports of the year, and since I was All-American in high school and all three, basketball, football, and track, I tried basketball my first year. Mm-hmm. I could dunk with my elbows, but sometimes I forget those offensive plays. So I decided.
And you got drafted by the Rams.
Yeah, good. Listen to you. See, there's you guys. You better watch this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 1967, and in fact, I didn't take that chance or that choice because I wanted to compete in the Olympic Games. And back then, if you were professional in one sport, you could not compete in any other amateur sport. So that's why I didn't continue that.
So wait a minute. You mean to tell me we wouldn't have had a Bo Jackson, we wouldn't have had a Deion Sanders, or anybody like that back then?
I think you would have that, but I could have caught in a few passes, But since no quarterback could reach me, I just decided, I'll just go on and do something on my own. So track and field is one of those individual things,
Are you still a Rams fan?
Well, they moved back to L.A., so I guess I am.
Nice.
So when you were at San Jose State, was it while you were playing basketball that you realized that track was going to be your focus, primary sport? Well,
I was a country boy, and I picked cotton, cut grapes, and they're still doing that down in mid-San Joaquin Valley. I just wanted to get out of the field, whether it's basketball, football, track, or just plain old running away. I thought taking the education away would be a little better, so that's why I continued my education. My first year, majored in music, then I changed over because you went to a Baptist church, that doesn't mean that all black folk could sing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I went to a Baptist church, and I tell you, I can sing, and I can sing, and they hate this part about me.
He's gonna do
they
it.
hate that they want me to tour around the country. But listen, Tommy, this is Tommie Smith, everybody. Tommie Smith, the 1968 Olympic gold medalist, fist in the air, Tommie Smith. Y'all better recognize R&R is bringing it.
But I got to ask you this: you were the first. Well, take us from San Jose State to the Olympics, to the '68 Mexico Olympics. Talk a little bit about that and how you came to know John Carlos.
Being a very quiet kid, believe it or not, a very quiet kid in my grammar school era. I very seldom spoke 10 words a day. And I thought once I got into grammar school, I began to be more conscious about my surroundings. And from there, the 8th grade, 9th grade, then I became more prominent in track and field, basketball, and football. And I didn't know where I was going. I did know after practice I would go back to the fields at night and work a shift with my dad out in the cotton fields, irrigating. But I had no idea that I would be where I was my first year in college. I didn't know what all that stuff was then. I was born in the country, raised in the country, came to California in 1951. Guys, don't say anything about 51, okay? 51 alone.
You won't get it from me.
I wasn't alive.
And from there, I just kind of moved through the system, hitting the academics, talking as much as I could anyway, because I didn't understand the English language very well anyway. You can tell how I talk now. Talk fast and move fast, so I learned as much as I possibly could, and it awarded me with a sensibility of listening to people, trying to understand them, moving through the system. And Lord have mercy, I read the Constitution, and that's what really kicked me into what's going on here. And I began to get more involved in the politics of this country, especially people moving through it in a political manner to understand where I fit in or where I could fit in. And with the atrocities that I went through from the cotton fields, through grammar school, through high school, through college, I wondered, could this be better? Could this great country, but it could be better. And the one way it could be better is someone standing up for the rights of man, not so much of the civil responsibilities that would come later, but just man, the human rights issue. And I was thinking of this my freshman year in college. And from there, the explosion hit, especially my sophomore, junior year when the Olympic Project for Human Rights became a reality. And all that learning, teaching from those fields through the Baptist Church coming up, through high school and getting to San Jose State University, I remembered my background and how it did not position itself to represent me. So I had to find ways to let those who were like me understand that there must be a war fought nonviolently to procure a betterment for people who didn't have a platform like I had. Then you begin to see the Tommie's heart move to fruition where I could be a support for somebody who had no support.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with the great Olympic gold medalist Tommie Smith. Can you give us an idea of some of the people, like Dr. Harry Edwards? How did all those people kind of come together prior to you winning the gold medal at the 1968 Olympics?
My last two schools that recruited me, out of the 48 that recruited me, was USC and San Jose State. I chose San Jose State because it was closer to home for me in San Joaquin Valley, and I had relatives in Oakland where my full scholarship didn't cover all of my books or all the food. I could write to them for a couple of bucks. A couple of bucks back then went a long ways. So once I got there, Harry Edwards and my roommate S.T. Sappho met me at the airport, and they laughed at me, reasoning very well understood. I had on my black Converse shoes, high tops, with white socks on, jeans that came up to my knees almost because of my 36-inch inseam, and a white T-shirt. And I thought I was dressed. I had on white socks and that's my white T-shirt. I mean,
I would dress it like that right now.
Hey, man, and I'm sharp too, Jack. Vintage Converse All-Stars.
Oh, what you talking about? That's right. So I met these two guys, and I kind of stayed with them my first and second year. But S.T. Sappho was my roommate in those little dorms, little 10-by-10 dorm rooms for 4 years. And Harry Edwards would come by here periodically. He was a senior. He played basketball with ST, who was sophomore. Harry was a senior, and I was a freshman. So we hung together as much as we could, although we never saw Harry because he was buried someplace in the library, in the stacks someplace back there doing his work. And I was on the track, and ST was on the court. So in the evening sometime we would meet and we would talk. And I noticed that Harry had a different sound in his voice than mine and my roommates. His was more organization of a proactive move toward understanding our system, our surroundings. And I looked at him kind of funny, wondered, what is he talking about? Then I understood my sophomore year that what I'd been through the cotton fields and through San Joaquin Valley, through grammar school and through high school, he brought it to a point where I could identify what was not right in my growing up. Because we were almost brought undercover from Texas through Oklahoma to California to do farm work. Back then, there was a law where white farm owners could move to Texas and be have a better picking for workers to come to California and work on their farms. Indentured servants, what we were back in those days. Picking cotton. We couldn't move off of those camps until we had paid our way to California.
Oh,
so
wow.
This was all in my mind as a sophomore.
Wow.
Then I began to understand my need to do something to make those who in my same position understand that not only is hard work in the fields would raise a family, but the educational process would raise many families.
All right.
So that I began to work socially and politically on the Olympic Project for Human Rights platform with Dr. Edwards.
And we're going to talk about, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Olympic Project for Human Rights more after this.
Rolling down the street with my radio on, listen to Funky Politics.
The mayor of the city of Memphis, Mayor Jim Strickland. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Laid back with my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
Dr. Sharon Griffith. Hey, Doc, how are you?
Good afternoon.
What you say, Grandpa?
Did he call me Grandpa?
We keep it real, we keep it right, and we keep it funky.
Funky Politics, part of the Katsukian Network.
I'll play the blues for you.
Blues in the Basement with Stephanie and T. Shaw.
Some great festivals going on around the tri-state area.
Got your dancing shoes?
Man, as long as I'm with you, baby, I'm always be on my toes.
Drop that zero.
Bring your blues, boo.
I got them.
We'll see you.
Thank you.
Blues in the Basement.
Thrill is gone.
Blues in the Basement, part of the Katsukian Network.
The thrill is gone. gone away.
Hey, this is Dr. J.
Hi, this is Twika Ketchum.
This is John Hollinger, Vice President of Basketball Operations for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Tim Brown, NFL Hall of Fame inductee. You are listening to R&R on Sports.
This is Tommie Smith, and you're listening to R&R on Sports.
I go to work like a doctor. When I rock the mic, you got to like the way I operate. I make miracles happen just from rapping. I'm so lyrically potent, and I'm floating and exploding on the scene. Mean, I got the potential to make it go then chill. I got the credentials that is the.
And we're back with R&R on Sports, and today ICONversation has the most iconic figure here from the 1968 Mexico Olympics. The power sign on the Olympic medal stand. We have gold medalist Tommie Smith. We're back, Tommie, and when we left, we were talking about the Olympic Project for Human Rights.
Correct.
There were 4 conditions that I saw. You planned to boycott the Olympics unless the Olympic Games, unless South Africa and Rhodesia were uninvited, unless they restored Muhammad Ali's world heavyweight boxing title, unless they had Avery Brundage, who was the president, step down as president of the IOC, requiring the hiring of more African-American assistant coaches.
We had a platform. Our realism of the Olympic Project for Human Rights was to move forward under certain conditions, and these were some of the conditions that you just mentioned: Rhodesia, South Africa, Muhammad Ali, more black coaches hired, housing on campuses being more available to black students and student athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So people knew what we were fighting for.
Okay.
A systematic change in the educational process and also the social process, which was just mentioned. We fought for that, so we did nothing that people didn't understand why we were fighting or why we were doing what we were doing. What they didn't know, what the system didn't know, the world didn't know, is how we were going to finish this up in Mexico City.
When was that decided?
Boycott, not a boycott.
Okay.
Proposed boycott if certain issues were not met or talked about.
Okay.
We're talking about that communication now that a lot of athletes are doing right now.
Okay.
Did the Olympic Committee come to you and the coaches come to you and give you any restrictions or let you know that they expected you to be quiet?
Oh, yeah. Avery Brundage made that perfectly clear along with his clan. They made that clear that the Olympic Games are not for a political use. That was very clear. But we broke no laws. We were very nonviolent, and we followed the rules as far as dress, as far as language, as far as movement. Everything was met. They were very concerned about what we might do in Mexico because of the talk, with power, of course, before the games. So this is the first time that in the history of athletics that any group that's big had stood up for human rights.
You're listening to R&R on Sports with the great Tommie Smith, 1968 Olympic gold medalist, Black Power salute, and the whole 9, y'all.
Now we're gonna move. Let's move to the race. I'm an old track guy, and let's.
You can't tell. You can't tell, Tommie.
Let's
move.
Tell. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Like a thoroughbred.
Shoot.
Let's move.
He's ready to be put out the pasture for the glue.
Let's move to the race.
It was the first time the 22nd time had been broken,
and a lot of time that gets lost.
Yeah.
You were the first person to run a sub 20-second 200-meter race
with a full muscle.
With a pulled hamstring, right?
Yeah.
Now, listen, you were in the race with John Carlos from. I mean, this is definitely East Coast, West Coast, because he was from Harlem.
Well, they were training partners, correct?
Right. And so, talk about the race. Because, I watched Carlos all my life, and I know he was last out of the blocks. He'd catch up, he'd run with the pack for a while, and then he'd just step away.
He was the first Usain Bolt, right?
And so as I understand, you had to catch him, and then you stepped away in this 200 race. Talk about the race.
I pulled this groin area muscle in the semis. So the whole world knew then that Tommie Smith had a problem, which was one of his legs were gone.
Right.
So did all the athletes in the race, from first lane, which was Jamaica had the first lane, to way to the outside. They knew this, John Carlos knew this. Tommie Smith was the one that knew it most because I was the one that was aching and hurting at the start of that 200-meter race. Mm-hmm. But being, like I said, guys, we talked about earlier, being a Christian kid, I had nothing to do but rely on the most spiritual, my God.
That's
and
right.
Deal with it. I'm just here. You put me here now. What you gonna do? I said, what you gonna do now? So,
won't you do it though?
Yeah. So all I could do was, get in the race and do what I could do. They had frozen it. You don't want to put ice down there where the growing muscle is, but that's what they did. They put ice down there and it froze more than my growing area.
That'll make you run.
Yeah. So when I got in the blocks, I kind of looked up. You can see it in the race. Kind of looked around me real quickly and put my head down and in the starting position, and I said, "It's all in your hands." I was done. But when the first step, when the gun sounded, the first step came out, and the fifth step came with that left leg on the inside, which is the power leg, I said, "Woo! Look at me." I didn't feel anything. So as I came out of the curve, in the middle of the curve, I was in fourth place. You don't be in fourth place with Olympic stars in a race like that. You can't. What are you going to do? Take third? No, no. Mine was supposedly a first place. I held the world record, so it was supposed to be first place. So 4 steps out of the turn, I straightened up, and then I started using finesse of the speed in terms of the architect of speed. That's what I was called because I studied the body a lot. Mm-hmm. Being 6'4", 188 pounds, I had to know something about the body because I had to pull muscle.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So once I pulled the throttle opened up, my legs still held.
Wow.
So I said, "Oh, this is nice." You look in the race where I pulled up alongside. No, I didn't pull up alongside John. I pulled up past John. Because he was the one in the race that I was the most feared because he had just finished in 1970 in the Olympic trials. So when I went by him, that was it. And you notice my arms went up in jubilation.
Yes.
Not that, I ran a world record, but that I had won the race.
They finished the race.
Carlos wasn't the only one in the race. There was Carlos, Peter Norman. There was Mike Frey from Jamaica. There was Roger Bambook from Britain. So I had to do something more than just think about John. But he was in the race next to me, so in lane 4, I do believe.
This is R&R Sports, and you're listening to the recount of the 1968 200 meters in the 1968 Olympics with the great Tommie Smith.
So talk about the time that you saw when you looked up on the clock.
When I crossed the finish line, out of the corner of my right eye, I saw a 19.78. And I said, "That's a pretty good time." I said, "Well, okay, that does last for a while." Then I crossed, I turned around and came back. It was still flashing 1978. When I realized at the last minute before I walked off the track, the time had changed to 19.83. Now that's pushing a half a second.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know where could a half a second go. It was electronic timing. So that electronic timing was really faulty, or somebody made it faulty. So that still is a question mark in my mind. What happened to that 19.78? In fact, guys, Usain Bolt won the 2016 Olympic Games with a time of 19.78.
Yep.
And it's the first time in the history of track and field back in 1968 that furlong was run under 20 seconds.
Right.
So a lot of things was going through my mind then.
Talk to us about making your way to the podium with John Carlos and Peter Norman.
Peter Norman had the Olympic Project for Human Rights button on, which was passed to him by John Carlos. In fact, I think John asked him, "If you had a button, would you wear it?" And Peter probably said, "Yes, I would wear it," knowing Peter Norman and his human rights background. And he put it on. I think that's what most of the problem of his returning home came from, is that button. People viewed him as backing, as supporting John Carlos and Tommie Smith. Peter Norman was second place in that race. He had his place on the victory stand, but he did not raise his fist. He had a button on, but he didn't raise his fist.
Right.
Emphasizing the fact of the blackness of the finish of that race. And when he got back, Australia saw the button, and they viewed it as him being a customized radical because he supported John Carlos and Tommie Smith. This man supported the issue of human rights. So not necessarily the black fist in the air, but the human rights. And he wore that button, so people viewed him as Tommie Smith and John Carlos. He was Peter Norman, and he deserved the right to be on that stand and to be in a position to make felt the human rights need throughout the world, not just Tommie Smith and John Carlos, because Tommie Smith and John Carlos represented human rights. They weren't the only human rights people in this nation at that time.
I read a quote from Peter Norman that said that he didn't know what you and John Carlos were going to do on the podium, but that he knew that you had done something when the national anthem played and the voices in the arena had started singing and went silent.
Yeah, it went silent. And I wanted to raise my head and see why, too, you know? Then I quickly realized,
it's about me.
Now, it's about me, yeah.
Was there any hesitation as you were up there? Did you hesitate at all? I mean, did you rethink or have any second thoughts at all about what you were about to do?
No. It's like, no. I won't suppose or propose anything other than the answer, no. Okay. It was already there. It was already idolized in history before it happened for me. If you noticed, as soon as the national anthem began playing, it was decisive move.
Right.
It wasn't a move of maybe.
Right.
The head went down, the fist came up, and it was a military stand for me.
And the shoes came off.
This is R&R on Sports, and we're speaking with the great Olympic gold medalist Tommie Smith. Tommie, when you were standing there, who coordinated the moves? Because you guys, took off your shoes, head down, fist up. Who coordinated the move, and what each element of the move actually meant?
John Carlos and Tommie Smith had already talked about it. We were the two top sprinters in the world at that particular time, and ironically, both were from the same school and the same school, not the same track team in school, because I didn't run track with John Carlos in college. Only on teams during the summer, the Santa Clara Youth Village Track Club, or in the AAU teams. It's the only time John and Tommie ran together as a team. But we did talk about what we might do in the Olympic Games. So we both were prepared with our socks. I had the gloves, and John had his beads, and we talked about what might happen. But that might happen, exactly what it was. It was decided before that game, that race, that each athlete would represent themselves according to how he felt a country represented them.
Okay. And
they would make a stand if you felt it necessary to stand up for human rights. Some of the athletes did, some of the athletes did not. John Carlos and Tommie Smith, who were on the platform of the growth of that Olympic Project for Human Rights, had to do something to make clear the need for communication, the need for the human stand. That's where Peter came in, the human rights, not the civil rights part of it.
There is so much more to talk to Tommie Smith about, and we are going to get to all of it in the next episode of R&R on Sports. Don't miss it.
I came to roam, the land to own, stand alone on the microphone. Daddy's home, so open the door. Playtime is over. Time to go to work to show the suckers in the place who run their face. A taste of the base and who's the ace. Start the race. I'm coming in first. With each verse I build a curse, so rappers can't capture Modi's rapture. And after I have to slap you senseless with endless rhymes. Don't pretend this is anything short of stupendous. And when this rhyme is done, your mind will become so trapped in the rap you lust another one. But you gotta wait, it takes time. I don't write, I build a rhyme. Draw the plans, draft the diagrams, and architect an effect and it slams. And if it's weak when I'm done, renovate.
You are listening to R&R on Sports. Remember to subscribe and rate our podcast. You can go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Kazookian, or any of your favorite podcast providers.
And now it is our time to ease up on out of here.
Peace out.
And ease on down the road.
Big baller.
Ease on down the road.
Where you on the way? That got to be a little tired.
Hit me up, NFL.
What are y'all saying?
I got rhythm.
Don't do any
as final parting
anthem.
words.
I'm going to shout out Martellus Bennett, who I think is doing amazing things with his company and doing children's books. And Hey AJ. and apps and moving into film, and I think that is super
He should have
cool.
done the instructional video for the dance for the NFL.
He said
they're gonna help everybody know how to dance.
He said it was a waste of time. And
We're gonna have Twister on the floor with like numbers.
They're gonna have the little footprints on what steps you make.
Y'all gonna be
with
doing the white boy shuffle.
What's acceptable as an end zone dance, y'all.
Right. Robinson, who you got?
I have Russell Westbrook for recording the first perfect triple-double the other day. He went 6 for 6 from the floor, 6 for 6 from the line, 11 rebounds and like 14 assists.
Yeah.
Man, this is our MVP. Russell Westbrook is doing a lot more with a lot less.
I agree.
And then in addition to that, I want to give a shout out to the U.S. team for winning the World Baseball Championship.
True that.
Absolutely.
Yes. I want to give a shout out
with
to
a Puerto Rican pitcher.
Some particularly special people that are performing at very, very high levels at the Special Olympics.
Okay.
Nice.
You know, when you talk about heart and the heart and determination and drive that it takes in sports, imagine how that is exacerbated or deferred if you have some kind of issue, physical issue and whatnot. And to be able to put that aside and focus on a sport and focus on a certain event, it is phenomenal, and they are performing at very, very high levels. Y'all have a great week. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and tune in for us every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Central on sportsbyline.com.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a good weekend. Peace.
Later.
R&R on Sports is recorded live at LPI Studios in the heart of Memphis, Tennessee. Web designer Daniel Coates, executive producer Larry Robinson, written by Howard Robertson, and produced by Reggie Fine. R&R on Sports, part of the Kazuki Network.